The woman who knew my coffee order, my mother's surgery date, and the password hint to my savings account had been living 12 feet from my front door for 6 weeks under a fake name. I found out because she sent me a photo from Boise, and in the rain-slick window behind her, I could see the red neon sign of the laundromat across from my apartment in Portland. Then my doorbell rang. My name is Ethan Cole Mercer. I'm 33, and until last year, I was the kind of man who believed the internet could give you real friends. I worked as a product designer for a small software company in Portland called Lattice Harbor, making $92,000 a year, living alone in a one-bedroom apartment on Southeast Belmont that cost me $1,875 a month and always smelled faintly like coffee grounds from the cafe downstairs. I met Mara Vale in April 2021 on a private photography server called Northlight. Her profile picture was a black and white confronted of a lighthouse, and she said she was 31, a library archivist in Boise, Idaho. Her username was Paper Mara. I was Lens Ethan. At first, we talked about cameras, my secondhand Fujifilm X T3, her old Canon, the magic hour, lens flare, street portraits. Then life happened. My dad passed away in 2022 after a long illness, and Mara became the person who stayed up with me until 2 a.m. while my apartment hummed with refrigerator noise and rain tapped the glass. "You don't have to be entertaining tonight," she typed once. "Just breathe. I'm here." When my girlfriend, Emily Rusk, ended our 2-year relationship in January 2023, Mara was the one who listened. I told her embarrassing things, private things, how empty the apartment felt, how I still bought Emily's favorite cereal by accident, how I worried I was too boring to be loved. Mara mailed me a hand-painted mug that said, "One day at a time, Ethan," and I kept it on my desk like a little anchor. The first signs were small enough to explain away, which is how I let them stack up. On March 15th, 2023, a package arrived at my apartment from MV. It was a book of Oregon Trail photographs, wrapped in brown paper that smelled like lavender soap. I hadn't given Mara my new apartment number yet, but I told myself maybe I had mentioned it in some late-night message. On April 2nd, my favorite barista, Lena, handed me a vanilla oat latte before I ordered. "Your friend prepaid," she said, sliding the cup across the counter. Steam curled into my face. "What friend?" She pointed toward the window. "Red coat, dark hair. She said you'd know." By the time I looked outside, there was only traffic and wet pavement. When I told Mara about it, she sent a laughing emoji. Portland is full of mysterious red coats. In May, Emily texted me out of nowhere. "Please stop having people send me messages. I'm trying to move on." My stomach tightened so hard I had to sit on the edge of my bed. "What messages?" I wrote back. She replied with screenshots from an anonymous account claiming I was still emotionally attached and tracking her socials. The wording sounded almost like me, but cleaner, colder. Mara said, "That's awful. Some people feed on chaos." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Trust has a sound when it cracks, but at first it's barely louder than a floorboard. The discovery happened on June 11th, 2023, at 8:46 p.m. I remember the time because my microwave clock was blinking after a power flicker. The apartment smelled like burnt toast because I had ruined dinner while answering Mara's messages. My phone buzzed with a photo from her, a rainy sidewalk. The caption, "Boise looks like it's crying tonight." I zoomed in for no reason. Maybe instinct. Maybe some buried part of me had already started screaming. In the reflection of a dark storefront window, I saw a red neon sign backwards, Pearl Coin Laundry. My laundry place, across the street from my building. My heart began hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. My fingers went cold. I stood up, knocking my chair against the wall with a sharp wooden crack. I typed, "Mara, where are you right now?" 3 dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. "Home," she wrote. Then my doorbell rang. The sound sliced through the apartment. I walked toward the door slowly, each step too loud on the floorboards. Through the peephole, I saw Rachel Voss from apartment 3B, the quiet woman who had moved in across the hall in May. Early 30s, dark hair, red raincoat. I opened the door on the chain. The hallway smelled like wet wool and lemon cleaner. "Hey, Ethan," she said softly. "Can we talk?" My mouth went dry. "Why did you send me that photo?" Her face changed. "Not much. Just enough." The mask slipped like a curtain tugged sideways. "I can explain," she whispered. I held up my phone, hands shaking. "Are you Mara?" She looked down at the floor, and her phone lit up in her hand with the same Northlight notification tone I had heard in voice chats for 2 years. "Ethan," she said, "you know me better than anyone." That sentence did something to me. It didn't feel romantic or dramatic. It felt like stepping onto a stair that wasn't there. My whole body lurched. I shut the door and locked it while she was still saying my name. For the next 48 hours, the truth kept getting worse. Rachel Voss wasn't Rachel Voss. Her real name was Celeste Ward, 34, a freelance social media consultant from Salem. I found that out because my building manager, Mr. Alvarez, called me after I reported the situation and admitted her application had inconsistencies. She had used a legal middle name and an old mailing address, but the emergency contact led nowhere. She had signed a 12-month lease for $1,925 a month in the apartment across from mine on May 1st. Then Emily agreed to meet me at Laurelhurst Park. The air smelled like wet grass, and my hands trembled around a paper coffee cup while she showed me everything. The anonymous account had sent her details only Mara knew. Things I had confessed during sleepless nights. Worse, the messages had been timed right after I told Mara I was thinking about proposing before Emily and I split. Emily's eyes were glassy. "I thought you were trying to pull me back in a strange way." "I didn't send any of that," I said. "I know that now," she whispered. "But at the time, it sounded like your pain." That line stayed with me. At work, another layer surfaced. My boss, Priya Nundakumar, called me into a conference room on June 14th. The room smelled like dry erase markers and someone's peppermint tea. She looked uncomfortable. "Ethan, did you share internal design files with anyone outside the company?" "No." "What?" She turned her laptop toward me. An anonymous email had accused me of leaking our prototype for Harbor Fold, a client dashboard worth a $400,000 contract. Attached were cropped screenshots from my personal messages with Mara, where I had casually described being stressed about the dashboard redesign. Nothing confidential, but enough to create suspicion. Priya said, "I didn't believe it, but legal had to review it." My ears rang. Celeste hadn't just wanted to be close to me. She had been quietly cutting ropes around me. Emily, work, my privacy, so I would drift toward the only person who seemed steady. Her. The emotional aftermath was ugly in a quiet way. I didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night for 2 weeks. At 3 a.m., my ceiling looked like gray paper, and every hallway sound made my throat tighten. I lost 11 pounds because food felt like cardboard. I called in sick twice, lying in bed with my blinds closed while summer light pressed around the edges like an accusation. Mara kept messaging. "Please don't let one mistake erase 2 years. You're overreacting because you're scared of being cared for. We belong in each other's lives, Ethan." I didn't answer, but I read every word with a cold, crawling feeling under my skin. My apartment no longer felt like mine. The mug she painted sat on my desk, cheerful and poisonous. One night, I picked it up, carried it to the kitchen, and set it in the back of a cabinet because I couldn't stand the sight of my name in her handwriting. The turning point came on June 22nd. I was leaving for work, exhausted, unshaven, my shirt wrinkled. When Celeste stepped into the hallway wearing a navy hoodie, I recognized instantly. It had a tiny silver fox stitched on the sleeve, a design I had sketched in a private message to Mara months earlier for a brand idea I never used. She smiled like we were sharing a secret. "You look tired," she said. "You'd feel better if you stopped treating me like the enemy." My fists clenched around my keys until the ridges bit into my palm. Right then, fear burned away and left something harder. I looked at her and said, "You don't know me. You collected me." Her smile disappeared. That afternoon, I stopped reacting and started planning. I hired a lawyer named Amanda Keene, who worked out of a brick office near the Multnomah County Courthouse and charged $325 an hour. Her conference room smelled like paper, old wood, and black coffee. I brought printed screenshots, package labels, the anonymous messages to Emily, the work email, the photo reflection, and a timeline with dates highlighted in yellow. Amanda flipped through everything, her jaw tight. "This is harassment, impersonation, and potentially defamation," she said. "But we need clean documentation. No threats. No emotional replies. You let the evidence speak." I also contacted a digital forensics consultant, Jamal Ortiz, a friend of Priya's husband. For $1,200, he helped preserve message metadata, server logs, email headers, and image timestamps in a way that would hold up if needed. Priya quietly cooperated because she felt awful that my job had been dragged into it. Mr. Alvarez gave Amanda copies of Celeste's lease records after she found a legal route to request them. Emily wrote a signed statement about the anonymous account. Then we set a trap. I told Mara, only Mara, that I had been invited to show 3 private street photos at a small gallery event called Windows of Portland on July 8th. The gallery existed, but the invitation did not. My friend Theo owned it, and he agreed to help after I showed him the evidence. We created 3 decoy images, registered them with the Copyright Office, embedded unique metadata, and uploaded them to a private folder accessible only through a link I sent to Mara. Amanda smiled when I hesitated. "Think of it like leaving a flower footprint," she said. "If she walks through it, we'll see." The plan unfolded with a precision that made my stomach twist. On June 29th, I messaged Mara, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I still want one person to see the photos before the show." She replied within 30 seconds. "I'm honored, Ethan." My kitchen was silent except for the refrigerator buzzing. I sent the link, then sat there staring at the screen, palms damp. Jamal confirmed the folder was opened 4 minutes later from a device in Portland, not Boise. 2 days after that, Theo called me. "You're not going to believe this," he said, though his voice told me he absolutely believed it. A woman named Celeste Ward just submitted 3 photos to the open wall section. Same images, different titles. I closed my eyes. The air left my lungs slowly. She also sent an artist statement, Theo added. It says, "These images explore the sacred intimacy of watching someone become themselves." A chill moved across my shoulders. We almost lost the whole plan on July 5th when Celeste saw Amanda and me in the lobby. Amanda had come by to review building camera policies with Mr. Alvarez. Celeste froze near the mailboxes, keys jingling in her hand. "Who's this?" she asked me. "My cousin," I said too quickly. Amanda didn't miss a beat. "Family drama," she said with a tired smile. "You know how it is." Celeste studied us. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. For 3 seconds, I thought she knew. Then she smiled and walked away. The climax happened July 8th at Theo's gallery on East Burnside. The room was bright and warm, smelling of fresh paint, printer ink, and sparkling water with lime. About 40 people stood around holding plastic cups, murmuring under track lights. My chest felt tight beneath my blue button-down. Celeste arrived at 7:12 p.m. in a cream blouse, hair pinned neatly back, looking proud. Her 3 stolen photos hung on the far wall under the name Celeste Ward. One was a confronted of a rainy bus stop. One was a silhouette through a cafe window. One was my own apartment window from across the street, cropped just enough to feel artistic if you didn't know the truth. Theo gave me a slight nod. Amanda stood near the back with a folder. Priya was there. Emily was there too, arms crossed, face pale but steady. Mr. Alvarez had come after Amanda, invited him as a witness. At 7:30, Theo tapped a microphone. "Before we begin tonight's artist talks," he said, "we need to address a serious issue involving authorship and consent." The room quieted. Celeste's smile stiffened. Theo turned to her. "Ms. Ward, did you take the 3 photographs you submitted?" She lifted her chin. "Yes." My heartbeat slammed once. Amanda stepped forward. "That's interesting, because those images were created by Ethan Mercer, registered before tonight, and sent through a private link that was accessed from your device." Celeste's face drained of color so fast, it was almost unreal. "That's not true," she said. I walked up beside Amanda. My legs felt unsteady, but my voice held. "You told me you lived in Boise," I said. "You moved across my hall. You contacted my ex-girlfriend. You sent messages to my employer. And now you're hanging my work on a wall." The silence in the room was complete. Even the little refrigerator behind the counter seemed loud. Celeste looked at me, eyes shining, not with guilt exactly, but with panic at being seen clearly. "I did it because you shut people out," she said. "I was trying to protect what we had." Emily stepped forward, her voice sharp but controlled. "You lied to both of us." Priya added, "You jeopardized his job." Celeste looked around the room as if searching for one sympathetic face and finding none. Amanda opened her folder. "Ms. Ward, this is a cease and desist notice. We are also filing for a protective order and pursuing damages for defamation and copyright infringement." Celeste whispered, "Ethan, please." I looked at the photos on the wall, then back at her. "No," I said. "You don't get to make my life smaller and call it love." That was the moment karma arrived. Not with shouting, not with chaos, but with a room full of people finally seeing the truth she had hidden behind kindness. The aftermath took months. Celeste was removed from the gallery show that night, and Theo sent a statement to the local art group explaining the copyright issue without embellishment. Her freelance clients started dropping her after Amanda notified them of the legal claims. My building terminated her lease for false information and repeated violations of tenant privacy rules. She moved out on August 3rd. While I watched from behind my curtains, my stomach knotted so tightly I could barely breathe. In September, the court granted a 2-year protective order. In November, Celeste settled rather than go to trial. After attorney fees, I received $18,400, not enough to pay back the piece she stole, but enough to cover Jamal, Amanda's first invoices, and 3 months of therapy I paid for privately. Priya cleared my name at work in writing, and I kept my position. Emily and I didn't get back together. Too much had been damaged in the fog Celeste created. But she hugged me after the hearing, smelling like vanilla shampoo and rain, and said, "I'm sorry I believed the worst." I said, "I'm sorry she gave you reasons to." I still live in Portland, but not in that building. I moved to a smaller place in Selwood with morning light, creaky floors, and neighbors whose names I learned slowly. I still take photos, though I don't post them as freely. My online accounts are quieter now. My passwords are stronger. My trust is slower. Sometimes people hear the ending and say I won. Legally, yes. Publicly, yes. Celeste lost the stage she tried to steal, and the truth followed her into every room where she had performed as someone harmless. But victory didn't give me back the man who used to believe a late-night message meant safety. It didn't give me back those 2 years of friendship, if that's what it ever was. Some nights, when rain hits the window just right, I still remember the comfort I felt seeing Mara's name pop up on my screen, and that memory hurts more than the betrayal.